Giulio strolling in the garden. He meets Francesca at the corner. He politely asks her for directions. When Francesca slicked back her blonde hair, her looks were more than pretty. She was amazing, although they were 20 years apart, but he had never felt so close to a woman. Francesca seems to be a mute. She stayed aside the cardboard box. Giulio is an engineer. He was looking for a statue of Tiana. He needs it for his new courtyard. The depressing thing is that it's not for sale. Giulio meets Francesca for the second time. The bus has left. How will you get back? Bus number 11. Where are you going? I'll take you. Forget it. It turns out she's not mute and has a lot of personality. After only 2 meetings, he was fascinated by Francesca. To his surprise, she asked for a ride after a while. A gentle, middle-aged man, a young girl in her prime. They are very different because of this chance meeting. Their life trajectory has changed, just like the feeling we got at the beginning. She is an eccentric girl. They talked in the car from a fir tree to a friend, because her best friend once asked her, what did she like most about men? She didn't realize it was his hand until just now. Giulio was amazed by this nonsensical question and bold move. Are all young girls so naughty these days? It's not over yet. The road ahead is blocked. Francesca smiled and took a motorcycle and left. But she left him her number. On the phone, Francesca arranged for them to meet at her house. When the carriage arrived, she was asleep. Giulio saw a picture of her as a child. He compared it to the Francesca in front of him. Yes, they were the same person. He didn't dare disturb her, so he went to the balcony. She seems to have someone at home. It was her best friend Rashi. Rashi was a very spontaneous girl. The conservative Giulio doesn't dare to look away. Under Francesca's fiery gaze, he could only say goodbye in a hurry. He meets an old friend for coffee. Their third encounter came as planned. The girls kissed each of their classmates graciously. Facing the middle-aged man, she was a bit nervous and restrained. She turns around a lot when she's on the phone. Giulio is stunned. She was like a little leprechaun, but a friend's words brought him back to reality. Francesca was the daughter of his lover from 20 years ago. But his lover passed away 5 years ago. The words drew him back into his memories. He learned it from another old friend that his first love had married and left for Africa. She didn't return home until his daughter was 8 years old. Things were getting out of hand. Francesca comes to him. The eccentric genie does her tricks outside in the courtyard. The countess was dumbfounded. She treats the 2 girls to a feast. The mischievous Francesca plays a little game with a spoon and her teeth. She looks a bit seductive. He wanted to stop it. She doesn't like it. Receiving a hint from Francesca, Rashi knew she needed to leave. Her departure drew the attention of a group of men. Francesca was still blaming him for being stupid. It took them a few conversations before he understood. On the way home to take her home, Francesca spoke up and asked, was he afraid to be alone with her? His mouth was still holding out, but he soon revealed himself. When Francesca asked him to go up and paint, he flinched. He promised to come and see her. He returned home anxiously and drank half a bottle of milk to curb his agitation. Turns out he had a wife. He had an 18-year-old daughter who hadn't come home yet. This is an uncomfortable age, but it looks like their relationship is not very good. They were arguing as soon as they met. The daughter is back. He hadn't seen her for a few days. The first thing his daughter said to him was, I'm pregnant. He was very angry when he heard that, but he was expecting it. He had no desire to go to work. He looked up the old photo of his lover. She did look a bit like Francesca in her eyes. In a trance, he saw their hands slowly fluttering on the piano keys. After work, he went to the entrance of the school. Francesca was just coming out of school. She looked around a few times as if she was looking for someone. She turned around and got on her classmate's motorcycle. Soon she disappears at the intersection. Giulio is a little disappointed and amused. Rashi saw him. If Francesca was a leprechaun, then she was a fire. He took her home. She reveals Francesca's little secret. She sometimes screams like a lunatic. She must have been missing her father's love, because until her mother passed away, she didn't tell her who her father was. Francesca also had a boyfriend in Rome at the time, until he asked her to marry him one day, and they broke up. Rashi gets closer and closer. The ringing of the phone saved him, but she had no intention of giving up. She wanted to challenge Giulio's boundaries. Then she went straight for it. This time it was Francesca who interrupted them both. Francesca was not happy. She puffed up and went into the room. Tears fell from her beautiful face. Rashi apologized to her at the door. Giulio goes to a friend's house to complain. Before 1:20 am, he came downstairs again to Francesca's. He lights up a small cigarette. Francesca just came home. She enters the house with a boy with a guitar, talking and laughing. After a while he dialed Francesca's phone. He said he would wait downstairs until the boy left. Okay, take your time. An hour later the boy left. Francesca kissed him on his car window. He resisted the temptation to go back to his life. He went back to his daughter. The daughter was strong. She decides to go to London to have the baby aborted. Giulio is a bit strange. Why doesn't she let the boy take charge? But in a moment he's not so mean anymore. Francesca called the house. She is coming to Rome this weekend. What a clingy Francesca. She came knocking on the door early Sunday morning. She and Giulio's wife locked eyes. They were both embarrassed. Giulio was baffled when he saw Francesca enter. He's a little flustered. Francesca took him to the racetrack. She bets Giulio without placing a bet. If the horse she likes wins, he would pay 100,000 euros. To their surprise, she did win. Giulio was willing to bet and lose. He readily signed the check. Why did she win? So it was her stepfather's horse. They were both very happy. Giulio had no more worries. He took Francesca for a ride. He's going 160 yards. Once the gate is opened, it's hard to close it. Francesca took her back to her family's farm. He met her stepfather. Looking at Giulio, who was the same age as him, the stepfather brought out the best wine to serve her. Italians are very open-minded until Francesca got sleepy and went to her room. Her stepfather's family was good. He had many maids and endless pastures. The horses were his treasures. After they sat her down, Francesca found a rare four-leaf clover. He asked Giulio to make a wish. I wish I could be younger and walk with you in the endless desert. A heavy rain woke up their dream. They panicked and hid under a tree, but Francesca's smile was all sweetness. It was time for them to go home. The music was loud in the house. They went inside to find that Rashi had started a party for multiple people. What I didn't expect was, Francesca is furious. She yelled at men for being hypocritical creatures. She wanted them but still pretended to be a gentleman. Her words drew a crowd of curious spectators. He hit her for the first time. She seemed to be awakened by the blow. She obediently went to the hotel with him. Everything is almost done. Right. A long, loving kiss. Francesca pampered him to help take off his shoes, but he went to the bathroom on the pretext of smoking. Who do you want? Left or right? In the sound of the running water of the shower, Giulio remembers the delicate hands on the keys, the hand of Francesca's mother. Should he take this step? The perfection of Francesca's face made Giulio stop. In the end, he flinched. The next day he apologized to Francesca. She scolded him for being a coward and an irresponsible old man. He had no choice but to say what he had to say. 20 years ago, he and her mother were lovers, but one day they were at the cinema and she left without saying anything. Since then she disappeared from his life. Francesca listened and bowed her head. She didn't say another word. When Giulio came back from the phone call, Francesca has disappeared. She was at a loss and helpless. Her phone rang for a long time, and he didn't dare to answer it. The church bell startled the pigeons. Her cheeks were filled with cares. Giulio's family was in trouble too. His daughter had gone to London, and his wife, who had already discovered his infidelity, she never made it clear, and she found a reason for him to do so. You are such a hypocritical man. The wife is actually very beautiful. It's just that he's seen the same face for more than a decade. Francesca's attraction still took him there. He could not forget that innocent and delicate face. He took her face in his hands. Together, they decided to leave behind the shackles of the world and be together. They flew to London together. It was Francesca's first time here. She was so excited. Are you going to take me to see your daughter? But Giulio said, take your time. I didn't expect his daughter to be so smart. She guessed that Francesca was the girl who called last time. Giulio was speechless for a moment. My daughter praised him for his charm. But you have to be careful. You may not be able to accept what we think at this age. What his daughter said next was going to blow Giulio's mind. She decided to have the baby and hoped her father would give her his blessing. He can't do anything about this daughter. Francesca was holding Giulio's hand. That was the most magical place for her. Although it was not Francesca's first time, but she was completely absorbed. Her daughter was going back to Rome. Francesca didn't want to go out. She didn't want to go to the gallery. She didn't want to eat. She just wanted to stay in her room. Giulio is the same. What a strange relationship experience. He and his former lover's daughter seemed to be full of energy. He left everything behind, just as he had wished. Francesca woke him up early the next morning. They had a 9 a.m. flight back home. He was a bit impatient. He made it all the way home. He tracked his suitcase upstairs. Giulio was tired because he was getting older. Just inside the door, Francesca saw a present. It's a picture of her. Giulio's heart was rewarded with Francesca's sweet smile. Tomorrow he's going back to Rome. Francesca was a bit distracted. She looked at Giulio in awe. The corners of her mouth twitched slightly. Finally, she fell into his arms. I'm so happy now. In the evening, when they were shopping and passed by the cinema, she suddenly also wanted to see a movie. Giulio had to go in with her, The movie was already half over, but Francesca did not care because her heart wasn't in him at all. A super boring movie. Giulio had fallen asleep watching it. He woke up only when the lights came on. Where did Francesca go? She's just like her mother 20 years ago. Francesca left him when they were at their happiest. This crazy but sweet love will always remain in his heart. Giulio understands too. The car drove around the corner and never looked back.